Hi guys, today we'll talk once again about America, about the United States, about its domestic and foreign policies. And we'll do so with the Americanists and journalists and just our friends, Nika Burduli.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me again.
I will not to be original with the start of this video, but I can help but ask about this. A few days ago, we witnessed something extraordinary, something I personally can't remember seeing something like this before. And of course, I'm talking about the conflict between Zelensky and Trump during his meeting in Washington. So let's start that way. What were you expecting before the meeting, and what was your first reaction when you saw it?
I was expecting that a deal, as promised, it would be signed without this much fuss. But my first reaction, I actually was not near the computer. It was Friday evening, so I don't think anyone was really paying much attention to whatever was happening. But I remember how others reacted at the place I was. People were saying that Trump and Zelensky had a fight, like literal fight. My mom said that she saw a video on Facebook how they literally had a
Yeah,
fight.
that sketch is from TikTok.
So I was expecting the worst possible outcome out of there. When I saw the clip myself, first I watched the 10-minute segment that probably everyone has watched. Then I even went through the almost 1 hour video, which was a lot more informative actually because it gave us a very much needed background, without which I don't think there's really any point in analyzing what happened next. So before this famous speech by J.D. Vance, everything was going sort of fine. They were complimenting each other, saying how great both of them are. So it was pretty good. And then we all know what happened, right? As of expectation, I didn't have a reaction, to be honest. I just agreed with President Trump, who said it's great television, and it actually is great television. Something, as you said, not seen maybe ever, or maybe at least for a very long period of time.
Yeah, and what do you think about the thought saying that it was premeditated action made by Trump and GD?
I don't think it was done by Trump. Uh, Not at all. Maybe J.D. Vance tried to provoke Zelensky. If this was his intention, he did very, very well, because here we are now discussing all of this. Uh, it's you can't say it was an intention. You can't say it was not, because we can't read the state of mind of either Trump, JD, or Zelensky, or anyone else. But I don't really see much point for Trump personally to do this. But I do see a point why JD would. So maybe he did. Maybe, maybe not.
And what
You
was
know,
the
I
point
can't
for
give a definite
JD?
answer.
What was
Huh?
the point for JD?
Well, I think unlike from Trump, as I see it, he just listens to some people, including JD and others, who are not really big fans of Ukraine for one reason or another. So they tried to make sure this deal would not happen and the relations between the two would deteriorate. And frankly, when Zelensky is fighting vice president in the Oval Office, Trump has no other choice but to support his vice president rather than president of Ukraine, who may be right, who may be not, but this doesn't matter. Uh, I think this may have been intention for JD, that he did not want the deal to happen, but he wanted someone else to take the blame. And frankly, for at least some portion of American society and the all of MAGA movement, it's Zelensky who's at fault. And some others also say this, by the way. It's not just them.
And who do you mean? Who do you mean by others?
You know, if you have a look a Georgian Facebook, and some
Georgian
right-wing
Facebook, very
people.
interesting place, by the way.
Very interesting, very boring at the same time,
Yeah.
because it's always the same people saying the same thing, but still, many of them say, yeah, we like Zelensky, but he could have handled it better. And I myself, I tend to agree because I'm not saying he's not right or he's wrong. This is not about this. When you're in a situation in which he is and his country is, sometimes you gotta swallow your pride and just let it pass. Okay, some daily events said this. Okay, fine, don't respond. But if Zelensky also wanted to uh, not to sign the deal, well, he also had a great chance to make that happen. But I don't think this was his intention.
By the way, you said that you don't see a point for Trump, but I see it. Yeah, probably it wasn't the best idea for both JD and Zelensky to debate there. But in my opinion, Zelensky hasn't done anything that terrible. Probably it wasn't the best idea, but not that terrible to provoke such a reaction that we have never seen before in the history of the United States. And we even have seen the small polemics between UK's uh, Prime Minister Starmer and GD also when they were speaking about the situation regarding the democracy in United Kingdom. But there was not such a reaction. And at the same time, we're hearing the reports that Trump now wants more favorable terms in these documents on mineral resources to make this deal more winning for the United States. So it seems for me like the American administration failed to secure terms that benefited them during negotiations, and now Trump, through his behavior and through this meeting, is pushing Zelensky to agree to everything he wants just to make Ukraine an economic colony. Don't you think that's way?
Fair enough. I mean, this is a good argument. It's a good one, but I think you're giving Trump personally too much credit. I'm not saying he's a very smart
I'm
guy, as
giving
he
him a
likes to say.
cards.
You're giving him too much credit. He is a very smart guy, as he likes to say, because you can't become a billionaire and president two times without being smart. But he's different way. He's different sort of smart. I don't think he's like really capable of this 4D chess his supporters think he is. Uh, I think he looks this thing more like as a PR stunt. So he made a deal, he ended the war. How he did it, it doesn't really matter this much for him personally. Maybe it matters for others, just as I said. Maybe you can say it does not. But for Trump, I think it was already good enough for him. And he personally, this is at least how I view Trump. Uh, he's a very difficult person to understand, and I can't claim I even understand him 50%. But in my understanding, this is the way he operates. He wanted a deal that would really end the war and bring all those nice things. He almost had it. Now he hasn't. Now he has not. And the thing is, he may not actually like what JD did, but he, as he also says, is a tough guy. So
Yeah.
when his subordinate, the vice president of the United States, is debated by some sort of modest comedian, as he has said in the Oval Office. Well, I don't think he can say that, Zelensky is right. Maybe we are in the wrong.
By the way, speaking about the reasons for the start of the war in Ukraine, Trump always says that it was caused by the withdrawal of United States troops from Afghanistan when America showed its weakness to Putin and essentially betraying an ally. And don't you think that the United States under Trump are doing the same now by stopping military aid to Ukraine?
They are, they are, of course. Trump is great at double standards and lying. He always brags how he withdrew from many places, but he blames Biden for doing the same. Um, he's, as you just said, right? He says that US was perceived as weak because of the Afghanistan affair. Now he's doing the same in Ukraine. Uh, he's not the guy who has this clear moral compass and all of those nice things that others pretend to have at least. Oh, uh, I do think that definitely in the eyes of China, it will make US seem weaker, maybe not so determined, but maybe actually not, because the thing about Trump is a good one, is that his unpredictability scares others. It really does, because you never know what he's gonna do next. Maybe he'll do nothing. Maybe he'll get even tougher, as many have actually anticipated before he was inaugurated. You probably remember people saying that Trump would be even tougher on Russia than Biden, and he would
Yeah,
be a
I
great president
remember.
for Ukraine. And by the way, this was a real possibility, and maybe just maybe, uh, this will be the new reality.
Mm,
The chance is slim, but who knows?
mm. By the way, you mentioned China. And speaking about China, when we see that actually Trump doesn't care about international law, about the partners, including Ukraine, why wouldn't China, for example, attack Taiwan? Especially after a journalist recently asked Trump, he asked Trump whether he would guarantee to protect Taiwan if China attacks it. And Trump replied, like, I don't want to put myself in such situation. And that means that no, I will not protect Taiwan. So if Trump says that China is the main evil of the world, it seems like Trump is opening a window of opportunity for China, which, according to his own words, is almost the greatest opponent for the United States in the world. It seems like a little bit not rational. Don't you think so?
Uh, from what you're saying, definitely. If I were President Xi, I'd give a thought to that. But I'm to be honest, I'm not really familiar with the Chinese and Taiwanese affairs, so I can't really say anything too good. Maybe too bad, I can say, but not too good.
Yeah, it
So,
depends.
from theoretical point of view, surely there is. Such an option, but I think if Chinese wanted to invade Taiwan, they had lots of opportunities to do it way before today. You know,
Today.
I think the start of the war in Ukraine.
Do you have insights?
No, I have no insights. It's just talking about things I'm not
Yeah.
really familiar with, as I said. Um, but yeah, I can't say much. China may like what Trump is saying and may act on that, but I can't say much. Personally, I can't. I don't know how how Chinese work, what they think, and all of that. I'm not ready to think damn thing about that.
Okay, and going back to this document, to this deal with Ukraine on mineral resources, um, are you familiar with these documents? And what do you think? Will it be more about make United States richer, or that fund that, as I understand, should be created, will spend money on recovering of Ukraine's economy and putting money in Ukraine?
We gotta see. First, the deal should be signed, and then we have to see because behind this deal, there are surely lots of American corporate interests. You can't deny that because I think they'll be a party that will hugely benefit from this very deal if it's signed, if it really works. So, one thing is what's said on paper, and the second thing is how it actually works, especially in a country like Ukraine. You know, most people don't really criticize Ukraine during the war, and that's sort of right, but we all are very well aware. of how things can be done non-officially in Ukraine, just as in many post-Soviet countries. And I think we should see. Will it benefit Ukraine? In some way, it surely will, but will Ukraine have to pay for this? Of course. Why? They're not getting anything free from this administration, at
And
least.
what are the benefits for Ukraine signing this deal?
The only benefit I can see short term is that the US will keep its support.
Hmm.
Possibility of United
Hmm.
States keeping its support. I can see another because the war is far from over. If this sort of peace is now uh, done, it's not really a good peace because who knows one day it's not like a permanent ceasefire. It's everybody understands it's temporary, 99%, right? So if tomorrow there is a ceasefire, the day after tomorrow there will be no American companies and no American workers or anybody else rebuilding things that might get destroyed in a few years.
And regarding Trump's statements about security guarantees, yeah, Zelensky always says we need security guarantees because we can't believe Putin because Putin always broke the international law and the principles and so on and so forth. Trump said that American companies being there in Ukraine, it's already the security guarantees. Do you agree with these statements?
Not completely, but I do definitely see a point. Uh, you know, it's not a secret for those who want to see that nobody has leverage on the United States government as big as are the multinational corporations because they've got their lobbyists, they bankroll almost every single congressman, senator, and many executive officials. So, of course, their business interests will be taken into account. But again, if Trump is not willing to risk World War III, as he says, uh, for Ukraine, why would be he willing to risk it for not that much money for the United States? Like, how much is it? 100 billion, 200 billion. It's a quarter of what they spend on the military.
Uh,
Almost all.
yeah,
But I do see a point. I do see a point that American interests being there, not in just terms of some geopolitical or moralistic or other point of view, will definitely be beneficial to Ukraine.
Mm, okay, because I honestly don't understand where such confidence from Trump sides comes from. Because we have the example of Iran, yeah, right, which nationalized American companies, American oil companies, and by the way, I don't see United States troops in Iran, right? So
Definitely.
yeah, yeah. By the way, I agree with you. This is partially like a benefit, but also Ukraine has to pay for this, and
As you said, right, it's not 100%, but it's something. It's better than nothing. It's
yeah.
definitely something.
And as for Europeans, they say that they will help Ukraine. For example, United Kingdom's Prime Minister Summer repeated this famous formula for as long as it takes. But there's one moment that I would like to clarify for myself also because I don't understand it. Europeans use American details for constructing the weapons to build tanks, planes, and other military stuff. But these details have licenses, as I understand. So, as the American details are used for European military construction, and these details have licenses, are Europeans allowed to give that military aid to Ukraine without the permission of the United States?
I think it depends on the fine print in the contracts and in the treaties. I can't say surely if they can or they cannot. We definitely know cases where I think it was Germany who prohibited export of German-made weapons to Ukraine. So But if we look at it from Trump's point of view, uh, he sees many things in terms of money. So if he's paid good money, why does he care where it goes to Ukraine, to, I don't know, Zimbabwe,
Zimbabwe, very
Madagascar,
interesting
wherever.
destination.
But
Uh,
we should
uh,
be. It's hard to look at things from Trump's point of view because it's so different. It can change every day. It may be one in case of said affair and totally different in another. It's tough, but every single attempt to really uh, analyze Trump and his decisions from point of view of logic, I would say, uh, from the common logic. Oh, it's in vain. Don't do that. No point.
okay, we'll try. But we have 4 more years. It will be difficult.
For
Yeah.
maybe eight,
Yeah, maybe it's. By the way, I have a
maybe
question
12.
about this. Yeah. And speaking about the relationships between Putin and Trump, here Trump asked Putin to be a mediator with Iran during the negotiations. And do you really think that Moscow can implement the effective role of mediator between the United States and Iran?
So I can see it, but as long as it's tied to Ukraine. So if Putin is given free reign in Ukraine, he'll not be a neutral mediator. I think he'll be as pro-American as anyone can be.
Yeah.
Because in case of Putin, he does really care emotionally about Ukraine. Many of his articles are evidence to that. So if he's given Ukraine, I mean, he's gonna be standing with Trump and calling out the Ayatollah regime and demanding they hand over their nuclear weapons. I think that's actually not as distant and unrealistic possibility as some may imagine. But as long as it's tied to Ukraine, because unless it's tied to Ukraine, what's the point for Russia to help Americans?
Yeah, of course, it's a key point for Russians.
This is it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yesterday, Trump declared trade war against Canada, imposing 25% tariffs. And could you please explain us, was their relationships really so unequal in benefit terms, or what was the reason for it?
Well, as you know, the United States does indeed have a trade deficit with Canada. To simplify it, let's imagine you and me, we both have, I don't know, a grocery store, and I buy supplies from you for $100, and you buy from me for 20. So this is sort of it, but it may seem unequal at first glance, but this is definitely not how international trade works. Trade deficit, while it's not really a good thing, it's not this bad either. But Trump, well, he likes tariffs. He really said this. I like tariffs. They're great, they're tremendous, and all of those nice things, he says. So he views these relations as unequal. Uh, uh, and some of his base in Midwest, especially, they agree with him, not because they're sure it's true, but more because they think that they're losing their jobs in manufacturing and also because of this international trade. And partly it's true. But what's being traded between Canada and US? Lumberjack, all of those other things. Uh, this is sort of it. It's just what Trump wants. And because he was elected president, he can do it.
Yeah,
And
reason.
what can others do? They can either, yes, just like Canada did, um, introduce their own tariffs, or just hope that the storm will only last 4 years, not eight and not 12 and not 16, as was in House of Cards. But this issue is way easier than it may. it may be seen as, way easy. Just there's just one guy who likes tariffs. He can introduce them,
Yeah,
he does introduce them.
yeah,
Easy as that. Because there is no way. How do you solve this trade deficit? If Canada needed more American products, have no doubt they would buy it, but they don't need. This is it.
yeah. And also during his yesterday's speech, he mentions Greenland. He mentioned it again, and said that they would take Greenland one way or the other. Um, what does Trump need Greenland for, and how realistic is this scenario when Denmark agrees to it, or I don't know, the United States use military force to take control over the Greenlands? Is this even possible?
Why not? I mean, it's not like a big army is stationed in Greenland, and it's not like even if the US does invade, Denmark will be sending their forces because if the Chinese, for instance, can't really defeat America in battle, well, Denmark surely can't. So if Trump does really invade, nobody's stopping him. Let's be honest about this one. As for importance of Greenland, well, actually, he's got some point. Greenland has probably has a lot of natural resources under its ice. It's a big chunk of territory, which Americans actually wanted to buy in the past, but were not really successful. And it's got a very good location. It's near the Arctic. It's near Northern Europe, Russia. So there is a point in that. And I think there is a possibility that Denmark can be actually pressurized to cede Greenland for money or for respect and love of President
Respect
Trump.
and
And
love.
yes, why not? For the US, but mm, as for a military invasion, well,
Yeah.
uh, even though I think that Trump is definitely capable of everything.
Yeah.
One day he may wake up and say, "I need a small war that will end with victory." And
Mm.
in case
We
of Greenland,
heard
there
it
will be no
somewhere.
war.
Yeah, we heard
We
it
heard it
somewhere.
somewhere
Uh,
in other countries
yeah.
and in America, actually.
Mm.
And we all know how it ended up for others, our northern neighbors, or even Americans, if we take into account Iraq or even Vietnam.
Yeah,
It's
as
never a
for
good idea, but Greenland is different.
yeah.
I do
Uh,
see a point, though. For America, I do see a point why Greenland, by purchasing, invading, capturing, whatever,
and if
Greenland
you
is
were
actually a good
the
idea.
president of America, would you invite Greenland?
It would depend how I look at things.
Yeah.
How I look at things. Uh, if I look at them the way President Trump does, I would definitely invade.
Mm.
What's stopping?
Yeah. I know.
Fortunately, or maybe unfortunately, I think a bit different, a bit.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about domestic policy. During the inauguration ceremony and his speech in the Congress, Trump repeatedly says that America comes back, that the golden age of America starts here. But if we look at the statistics, the United States GDP is expected to decline by 3% in the first quarter, which is the worst performance since the COVID era. That's according to Atlanta Fed's estimate. And what do you think? What should we expect regarding American economic in the near future?
Well, I think we all know who's to blame because this guy will get the blame. President Biden.
Yeah. Ah,
Definitely Trump will be saying
yeah.
that it's
I thought
Biden's
you were
fault.
talking about Trump.
Uh, as for the economy, we will probably getting big deregulation once again, tax cuts. This Reaganomics on steroids, maybe, which may actually contribute to GDP getting bigger. But frankly, at least the way I see it, it's just sort of imaginary number From time to time that goes up, but it's not really felt. Well, in case of Georgia, it went up by what, 11% officially, right? And how many Georgians will be saying they're 11% better off than they were last year? Does GDP matters that much? I'm not that good of an economist, so I don't know. But Trump can always say, under me, GDP is like in skyrocketing,
Yeah.
and under Sleepy Joe, it went under the roof. Hmm. What to expect? Yeah, tax cuts, deregulation, like Gilded Age 2.0, and it's not a coincidence that it's 20s again, just of another century, and maybe well, no, there's not going to be another Great Depression, but we can also state that Russian propaganda will get a very good source because America's foreign debt will grow way bigger than it has been before. Because whatever Trump does, it's going to need some money. And Russians always like to say that America is done in a year or two because they are in debt like 40 trillion. But if you actually understand how this works, this debt can be 100 trillion. It does not matter.
Yeah.
America is not going bankrupt because they're the ones who can print the money.
Uh, do you want to add something?
Say again?
Do you want to add something?
No, 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 no. I
No.
think what I
So
can say, I said, and what I can't because of my poor knowledge, I did not.
okay, we'll cut this part.
As
Okay. Um, and as for Russian experience, some Republican senators argue that Trump should be helped to stay on another term. But there's a problem. Yeah, there's limits for presidential terms in the United States. From what I have read on this topic, there might be an attempt to hold a referendum and then try to prove in court that the referendum always the constitutional amendments limits. And is it really real that they can do something like this? Is it possible?
well, I have no doubt that some freakish Republican congressmen will definitely introduce this constitutional amendment because they want Trump endorsements. They want to be viewed as the most MAGA guys there is. Uh, Referendum has never been held in America. There's no precedent for that, so you can hold thousands of referendums, but even this Republican, to be honest, Supreme Court will not say, "Oh, it's cool." No, it's a constitution, and for the constitutional amendment in a traditional way, there is a reason there are less than 30. It's very hard to pass, and unless Republicans have supermajority in Senate, in the House of Representatives, and let's assume they have, which is as unrealistic as it can be, they will need two-thirds of the state legislatures, and this is also unrealistic,
So
especially given that in the midterms, President's party loses the seats, rarely gains them. It's like been only a few times, and the last time it happened, it was after 9/11, and there is no 9/11 at least now. And
yeah.
probably there will not be another, I hope.
Yeah, we'll hope. By the way, very good news that it's not a realistic scenario. So we've been recording for about 40 minutes. Nika, do you want to say something to our viewers?
Uh, Enjoy, because there are things that you can change. These are things you should never worry about because what's the point of worrying if you can change it? But as the world is burning, at least have some fun.
Okay, but
This is how I do it, at least.
yeah, but it depends. For example, if you're a Korean, it's very hard to take some fun.
It doesn't matter where you're from because it concerns every single one of us who lives on this planet, one way or another. For Ukrainians, it's way more. For us, it's a bit less. For others, it's virtually nothing, but still, you know, what can you do anyway?
Me?
No, you or anyone else who
Yeah, I
is
created
not
this
close.
channel and I'm trying to provides informative interviews to make this world a little bit more aware about politics. Yeah,
Well, you're
and
doing
yeah,
great on this one, but you can't change politics unless you are the one who
yeah,
is making the policy.
yeah. Let's see. I have a time for it.
I wish you good luck.
Yeah. Okay,
But
guys.
even if you do it in Georgian politics, still no global impact, to be honest.
Okay, guys. Thank you for watching and subscribe to our channel. Bye.